Hello everybody, a very warm welcome back to the MEC-TEC garage. Now, it has been a little while since my last video. I've been absolutely trying my 100% best to get that workshop, shed, whatever you want to call it, done as quick as I possibly can. It has taken me a little bit longer for whatever reason than things usually seem to take me. I don't know why lately I've been struggling trying to get stuff done. I don't know what it is, whether it's the weather or whatever. But yeah, anyway, I have been doing my absolute best to try and get that workshop completed. The cab unfortunately has had other ideas, which is why there's a bit of a space in here at the moment. I have actually had the cab in the garage and I've been working on the cab as well alongside doing the workshop. So that is why it's kind of delayed things on the video side of things. I have done a video on the cab as well. That will be a future video. But for the time being, this is going to be a sort of workshop update and where we're up to on that sort of thing. So I'm going to send you back to past me. We're going to carry on exactly where we left off at the end of the last video when I did the ending showing Colin Fursey's place and all that sort of thing. We're going to carry on from exactly then, and then we'll be up to go through the video up to present day, up to now. So without further ado, I'll send you back to past me and you can see exactly what we've been getting up to. rightio, as you would have just seen there, that is the complete workshop, all insulated all the way around. I've done a few fiddly bits off camera up here. As you can see, I've had to piece it together, and this is what I'm left with on the ground. I've got to try and piece all this together to try and do those last 2 panels, so I haven't got to buy another sheet of insulation, I'm hoping, but I'm not sure I'm going to have enough, to be honest with you. So I'm going to fiddle around with this off camera. It's not particularly interesting. You've seen me do tons of insulation already, and as soon as I've done it, I will come back to you and show you the end result and where we've got to. But at least now I can get the boarding on this side all the way around, all the way down the back wall, and I could even carry on to that wall if I really wanted to. So yeah, top banana, definitely get the roof done. Right, I'm going to see what I can do with this lot, and I'll let you know in a minute. Right, this wall now is going to be known as the mosaic wall. I have literally gone through my bin bag and got out all the bits that I could find that I could possibly use, and as you can see, it is a complete hodgepodge in that last panel. I mean, a lot of the panels on this side have got little bits putting them in the middle there, as you can see. There's a sort of strip going through the middle there because the bit side wasn't quite long enough, so I've done them as, used the materials best and most economical way I could. That corner panel is something else. I'm not massively happy about it, but it's insulated and it's all there, and it's going to be covered by 18mm wood anyway, so you ain't going to see it, and yeah, it's done as far as I'm concerned. So there we go, that is the mosaic wall of the insulation. But as you can see, everything else is all obviously done in full panels. It's taken 12 sheets of insulation to do this. The 4 that my dad originally gave me, the plain ones, and then the next 8 that I bought, which are this spotty type. So there are bits of the plain ones here and there where I fitted them in to make things work. But that should do the job very nicely. It will keep it quiet and it will keep it warm, and generally, hopefully, a nice place to be. So now I've got to have a big clear up. This is all I've got left. All what's on the floor is all I've got left, which is virtually nothing. Slivers of stuff. The only thing I haven't insulated is that gap. This one here, where the wiring is in there. I've done that side, but I haven't got anything to do that bit with. But I think I can cope with that. That'll be fine. I'm not going to worry about that. I'm not buying any. I don't want to buy another sheet of insulation because I'll only be using a fraction of it, and then I'll have a massive piece of insulation I need to try and store somewhere, so it's not worth it. Right, let's have a big clear up, and as soon as I've done that, we're going to get some more wood panelling on the go. Let's crack on. Right, as you can see, I've repositioned and had a big clear up, and this is the next layer of wood to go on. Now you can see how easy these slot onto each other. I'm not showing this live yet, obviously, because I did this first bit off camera. Basically, you just line it up with the, well, that is if you haven't put a bit in the end of it in the way. Just take that bit out. You line it up basically with the tongue and groove bit, and it kind of, I've got these screwed but not tight, because then that allows a little bit of movement in and out for the tongue and groove to obviously joggle into position like that. And it's a really nice way of doing walls. Although this is supposed to be flooring, I did my dad's workshop like this. And I did my old garage like this as well, which was my dad's workshop originally as well, because obviously that was his house to start with. And it's just a nice finish on the walls, but also something that you can fix to very easily because it's thick. So there we go. So that is pretty much how they go together. Slightly big gap at that end for some reason, don't know why. I'm going to probably fill these gaps, which is what we did in the other 2 garages. So now I've got to obviously cut up a piece for this. But before I cut a piece for this, I need to start building this side up, I think, because I need to have something to butt this up against so I know what measurement I'm doing. If that makes sense. These are only placed here temporarily, so I could, actually what I could do is put that one on top of there, just temporary, and then I've got something to measure up against for this piece to go in here. So I usually measure from the face, where the bit you can see, to obviously wherever you're cutting up to. That usually works out the best way These ones on this side are got a flat end on both ends because obviously they're only one sheet long. And what I've been doing is working out which end my piece is going to be at, so that I know which end to cut off of this first, because it's long enough to cut a piece off for that, and then obviously cut the other end off to match this wall, if that makes sense. So I'm going to do a little bit of working out. It may be that, as I say, I have to start building up this wall now, because this one's sort of to the point where I can't do any more until I've done the roof, because I need to get the roof to slot in above this so that it holds, gives a bit of support above it, and then I can obviously put a small piece in at the top here. That's the thinking. That's going to be the tricky one to do. It may be that I have to measure it and cut it, take this sheet back off, slot it on, and then put it up in one go. So it's effectively a sheet with a little bit on the top, and you put it all in one go, and it will then slot into the roof panel and sit underneath it nice. So it may be that I have to do that. Just thinking out loud here. It may be a bit tricky on this one. It might be that I have to, yeah, I'm gonna have to work this out, because I need to be able to slot this one into that way. So which means I need to gap this side. So I need to measure this, cut it, take this one out. So then it gives me a little bit of gap this end, to then put it in the hole and slide it sideways. And then that should work. Because obviously on these other ones, I've been sliding them in from the top, but I can't do that now because I'm at the top. So it's going to be a little bit tricky on that one, but we shall get there. Obviously I haven't got any joists behind some of these joins. That isn't really an issue because they're tongue groove. Once they click together, it kind of makes them strong anyway. So, and obviously there's screws in all the joists holding them all together, so they effectively all become one once you've got them on the wall. So right, I'm going to do a little bit of working out and find out what I need to do as far as that end and this bit. As I say, maybe that I have to start on the ceiling. I can put this one in, I can cut that. I have been putting screws in this corner piece as well on the back edge, so that this one has got something to hold it upright against, if that makes sense, because there's no joist in this corner. So if I put the screws in there sticking out, it's effectively like a little peg that sticks out just to hold that upright, which keeps this joint in this corner nice and tight. So that's what I've been doing there. Right, I'm gonna have a little play around with this and come back to you when I've got a little bit more progress, I think, because I'm not really sure what to do next at the moment. Famous last words, said that a million times over. Rightio, I've cut my new next two pieces, I should say. So this bit's in here now, as I said, because I've taken this, I don't know if you can see over here, this wall out, this panel out here, it allows me to get that in there and slot it in sideways to get the tongue groove to match nice. And it all just sort of, hopefully, will slot in like that. There we go. So that's the bit for that corner sorted out. I've also cut the bit for this, which hopefully will just slot on here and be the right size. There we go. I can always cap this if I need to, but that seems okay. Got a little bit of a discrepancy there, but nothing really. I've got to put my screws in to this joist in the corner here to hold this forward, because for whatever reason this side of the workshop is slightly, the front seems to be slightly outwards. So I'm just trying to keep it square and pack it out a little bit if I can, in the corner at least, so that it matches. There is quite a gap there actually, which I don't know whether I'm going to be able to make up. May have to, now I've cut that one, we may have to trim this edge with a bit of an angle on it to meet that, because otherwise that's going to be sitting right forward. Yeah, I might have to have a little fiddle about with that. I'll get the level on it and see what the level says. Obviously I want it to get it as close as I can. It hasn't got to be bang on perfect, but if you look at the right end of the level. Yes, if I bring that out to where that is correct. So I do need to bring that forward slightly in that corner. I may have to pack it out a little bit from behind with a another little sliver of wood or whatever in there to just bring that out slightly. So for whatever reason this front wall seems to be leaning Not sure why, but don't want to obviously put too much tension on. I don't want to sort of put too much tension having this corner perfect and then this bit having a big gap behind it. Not sure what I'm going to do about that yet. Just sort of looking at options. You can see there how much that's out. It's mega out. I don't know why it's done that. Obviously I know the edge, in theory I know the edge of this sheet is square. So I want to try and keep the two square edges together if I can. That side's nothing like it. Don't know why that is, I really don't. May have to say put a couple of offcuts in, or one offcut in there. Space it out a little bit, and where have I got offcuts? Let's have a look. Just thinking out loud here. Don't know whether this is going to work, but slide another piece of this in behind it. I think it might be too thick. Yeah, too thick. Okay, I've got some 12mm OSB left over, a few little bits of that. Might have to use something like that just to put behind it to pack that out a little bit. Yeah, that'll work. If I can get that corner there, it's got enough flex in that for that to do that. So I may have to put a couple of little bits in the top there just to bring that out slightly so that it sits where I want it to sit, and there's something behind it so it's not flapping about, and I've got something to screw through then. So yeah, I think that's what I'll do. I've just dropped that behind there now so I can't get it out again. Right. Funny how the bottom of the sheet sits perfectly, and then at the top maybe I'll try screwing it first before I put anything behind it, because I don't want to put stuff behind it unnecessarily. Right, I'm going to have a little play around with this and I'll come back to you. We're on the next bit. Maybe I'll show you my little cutting setup I've got, because I've made it so that the saw doesn't only just about goes through these boards, so I can cut them without it just flopping off the end of it and snapping. Interesting. So I don't want to pack this end out, because obviously then it'll make the whole front wall wrong. I only want to get it so the corners out, so if it does do that a little bit as far as sort of tweaking it inwards, it should be okay. Right, I'm going to have a fiddle around and I'll come back to you when I've got a bit more progress and know what I'm going to do. Right, I'll just show you what I've done, my little setup here. Obviously I've got two saw horses that I can put the sheets on. Now this is just a normal, obviously, circular saw, but I've set the depth, so it's literally, if I put it on the edge there, hopefully you'll be able to see it, it's literally just, the blade just sits below that level of the wood there. And what I've done is put make sure your guard goes back, I've put another piece of offcut there, which it just puts a little tiny groove into when I cut it. And that then, because I'm putting pressure on both pieces when I'm cutting them, and there's something underneath supporting them, it doesn't just fall away, which then doesn't obviously give you a jagged edge. So that's the theory behind that. I've worked that out from experience, should we say. So let's get this one cut. Now, as I say, because it's supported, that just comes away and you don't end up dropping it. Now this one is for the next lower one on the very back wall. It may need a little bit of fettling because the walls aren't quite square, so we may have to trim that slightly. But always I've found, I got taught this by a good friend of mine, Lee, cut the stuff off the main bit, like cut this bit straight, because then you know that bit's still square if you need to use it in future. If you cut it on the wonk, to make the bit that you want the right bit, then this bit's going to be wonky as well, and you can't really use it, and you struggle to get it straight again. So cut it straight to start with, and then if you need to fettle the bit that you're putting in, then cut it slightly on the wonk, if that makes sense. Hope that does make sense. Right, I'm going to get this put in the workshop and I'll show you where it's going. Right, I've had a little move around, as you can see. Got the press on the other wall now out of the way. I'm just getting this bit of wood I've just cut, get the sawdust off of it. And this is going in this piece over here. Now, as I say, this may not fit straight away because I did cut it kind of tight because it's got two different measurements where it's the wall's not quite straight. But we'll see. A little bit of fettling. Also got the electric box to worry about on this side, on this corner as well. See, it's getting tighter as it's going down because the measurement at the bottom was tighter than the measurement at the top. And that's as far as it wants to go. Now, did I put any screws in that one? That's the question. Yes, I did. I wonder whether, if I take that screw out of there, we'll have to re-level it again, which is fine. But it may just give us a little bit of wriggle room to get that to go all the way down without having to trim it, and it'll be a nice tight joint. If not, then I'll just have to take it out and trim it. Went down away. No, look at that. Blimey, wasn't expecting that. Not gonna lie. Last little bit needs to go down. So what we'll do, get my pry bar, and you can actually get that under the pair of them. We'll get a spirit level on it as well in a second, and obviously level them if you can, that is. A little bit of a jiggle, and that is pretty much bang on level. If I give that a little bit of a tweak there, it closes up that joint as well. So this isn't an exact science, I'm not gonna lie. It is a bit hit and miss when you're working with sheds and workshops and wooden stuff and whatever else. You just gotta get it the best you can. Like the gap this end of this board is much bigger than the gap that end, so maybe I'll have to lift that end up slightly to kind of even it out. What we're looking at on the level side of things, let's have a look. According to this, again, what I just said, that end needs to go up slightly. So what I'll probably do is possibly put a screw very loosely in this end so it can still pivot, and then I'll get the crowbar underneath that end of the boards, just tweak it up slightly. That should keep our joint here nice and tight, and it will just make it so that it's level. Obviously this is quite important on the lowest level because it sets the precedent for everything going up from it. If you get this one pretty much bang on, the rest of them should follow fairly evenly. It ain't far off. I mean, it's only in the bubble, it's touching the left hand line. It's in the middle, but it's in the left hand line. So that side wants to come up probably 6 or 7 mil, something like that. I'm talking quite small numbers here, but obviously get it as best as you can, and then it makes life easier for you in the future when you do the other runs. So I'm going to fiddle around getting this level exactly how I just showed you, with the crowbar and the level, get it as best as I can, and yeah, it should be absolutely marvellous. Right, as you can see, I've now got the next board up on there. Put this one in and put a couple of screws fairly loosely in that one. Got the next one just sitting on there, which obviously gives you the idea of the height I need to get up to before I've got to do the roof. So that's the next step now. I've got to do the roof, which is not going to be easy, but I thought if I get the walls up to that stage, I can use the edge of the boarding that goes on that end wall there to rest the end of this on, and hopefully get a couple of one screw in this end, and I can gradually work my way along and get it into position and work it on. Once I've got the first one up, I can then obviously hook the next one into the tongue and groove, which will hold it in position a lot easier for me to then screw it up along the way. But the first one's going to be a bit tricky, so I haven't tried this yet. This is as it is. I've cut it to the length I think I need, so I'm going to get a couple of screws ready, try and manhandle this up in the air. Now this is probably, well, this is mega overkill for the roof really, but just so it all matches, I suppose it would look better, and that's how I had it in my old garage. So let's see what we can do. It's going to be a bit tricky. I've got the screws in my mouth in case you wonder why I'm talking funny. On now, I've got to have things to hand so I can reach them when I get there to where it needs to be. This pile of floor tiles in the way really, but still, never mind. Not that easy. Tell you what I should have done, I should have started a couple of screws off in the board before I lifted it up, but also I didn't know where the screws had to be, so that again would have been a bit tricky. Well, that's the first one I started. I'll get one over here as well. Should have marked where the joists were. Oh, God's sake. Every time I do this. Where are they? I can't even see where they are because I put it right up touch the wall. I have to eyeball it. Hopefully get it right. I've got it right. That was more luck than judgment, getting that in that joist. Right, there's only 2 screws holding it up at the moment, but it's enough to give my arms a break for a minute. I think I might have to put a trim panel down the middle, because I think I don't think the joins are going to match up that nice. Again, because nothing in this shed is straight. Workshop. You know what I mean. Can you tell by the tone of my voice that I'm struggling with this a bit? Not gonna lie. I am struggling with this a bit. It's not not a hard job, it's just knowing where to go next. Like for example, I've got to that stage going around there now. I thought, okay, I'll cut the wedges to go in the tops, but I can't cut the wedges to go in the tops until the ceiling's in, because obviously the ceiling is going to be that much lower with the boards on than what it would be without. And I want the walls to support the ceiling around the edge. So the ceiling's got to go in first. I know it sounds like a silly thing to try and work out, and you think to yourself, why are you struggling with that? I don't know. To be honest, this is honestly the idea. I don't know why I'm struggling with that, but I am at the moment. I don't know what it is. So I'm just doing what I can and hoping for the best. At least we've got a couple of screws in there now. I should have marked them joists though, because that's going to bite me, I think that is. My mate Lee's watching me now. Here we go. We should have marked the joists. Because when I was working with him on a building site, I did exactly the same thing. And every time I forgot. He'll be chuckling to himself now, thinking, you plum. Somehow or another, I'm eyeballing it all right at the moment, so what I have to do is, got dust in my eye now, try and draw a line across them so I can see where they are from then onwards. Actually, I'll be able to see where they are from then onwards, because I'll be able to follow the screws. On the wall side, I can't see where it is, and I've got to try and guess it a little bit. Right, I'm gonna carry on doing this. There's no point in you watching me just doing this. It's quite self-explanatory what I'm doing. I'm just going to carry on cutting the sheets. I can see now that it's going off, so I'm definitely going to need some sort of a trim piece in there, because that's not right. This is the problem with this. I'm trying to make everything line up, and it's virtually impossible. It may be that I have to try and line up the middles so that this line's straight, and have the jagged bits on the edges. That would be better if I can do it. But obviously it's manhandle it while you got it up in the air and trying to get it right, if that makes sense. I've got a little bit of leeway because obviously I've got the overlap of the wall going up into it on both sides. So if I need to bring it out a little way to get it level with this centre line, it's better to be visually right than measurement right, if that makes sense. And that's a bit of a backwards way of saying it, but you know what I mean, don't you? Right, I'm going to fiddle around with this for a minute, and when I've got a bit more progress, I'll let you know where I'm getting on. Right, after a bit of up and down, I've actually marked a line right across this middle beam now, which is pretty much in the centre of the beam, and I've tried to line up the edge of that board as best as I can with that line, so that it will run straight away across and give you a line that's correct to your eye when you look at the ceiling. Unfortunately, it does mean it's tight at the back wall this end, and it's got a gap this end, but I think once I get the wall boarding on it, it might just about take up the gap, which is good. Obviously this end doesn't matter because this end's going to be behind this bit of the wall anyway. Once I put that piece in there, you won't see that, so that's okay. It's a bit of a, well, it's not a bodge, but it's just the way it's got to be, because I can't do it any other way. So now that one is in line with that, the only thing I've looked at since then is that I've lined it up with the top edge of this board rather than the face, rather than this edge corner on that's showing. But one thing I thought I could do is if I angle cut the boards on this side when I do them, they could actually sit just sort of on the top of that, which means it will kind of lock it in, and also it'll give you a nice line. That's what I'm thinking. So I think I'm going to leave it like that. You won't be able to see any of these other lines once it's all done. So obviously I can see at the moment that isn't bang on central with this, that and the other, but once it's all in one line and looks okay, I'm hoping it's going to be all right. So I'm going to carry on cutting these roof boards. I think I need another 4 to do the whole side of this roof, and then we're going to be concentrating on, I think, getting in these 2 triangular pieces, one each side, and that strip along now, because then that is this side complete and I can get the shelves started. That's the thinking. So yeah, I don't know if I've got enough wood to do all this at the moment, but I know I've definitely got enough for the ceiling. It's just these little fiddly bits that are going to take up loads of wood. That, like for example, that bit up there is going to be, I'm going to have to take a strip off of one whole length of one piece of wood, which is not going to be very efficient really. So I'm wondering whether I should actually, rather than having the top tongue and groove on that board over there, where I should take that tongue off and then I can just use offcuts and slot them straight in the gaps. But then obviously it won't be locked in, it won't be as strong. So there's a bit of, I'm in an orange to do on that side of things, but it's getting, well, I say it's getting there, it's progress. So I'm going to grab some more wood, get some more of this cut and put on the ceiling, and we'll go from there. Right, I'm sorry I had to stop the time lapse, but my phone, or my camera rather I should say, was outside on a tripod and it got absolutely soaked. It started raining. So I have progressed across, as you can see. I've got 4 boards on the ceiling now. I had to take each one up and down twice and trim this edge to make sure that the line carried on as true as it could, for whatever reason. I don't know why. I assume because the shed's workshop. It's slightly on the wonk. So we're on the last piece. I've cut it down to length, to width already, and I've drilled a hole in it for the wire to come through, just there. And I've had to cut a notch out the corner of it to go around our little packers that we put in the wall before. Hopefully this is going to work, because it's the first time I'm even trying this, so bear with. Not 100% sure I'm going to get the wire through. I'll tell you what, actually, I've got a little bit more length on that. I can poke that through while I'm here. Yeah, I'll have to just coil itself back up again once I put it up in the air. That's good. Right, that's a wire for at least. Now I may have cut this a bit too tight to the wall to be able to slot it in. Which is going to be the issue I'm going to have, I think. These little fiddly bits, you know. Obviously it's got to have a little bit of angle on it to be able to click into that next sheet. So what I may have to do is actually undo the screws out of this sheet to allow it to drop slightly, to then allow it to sort of squeeze itself in together, and then hopefully it'll go together. So yeah, this is going to be a bit of jiggery poke with this one, I think. Not going to be very easy. Right, when you need an extra pair of hands and you've never got any. Right, stay there. I've got dust in my throat as well. Right, let's loosen this off. See what happens. It's going to be tricky because obviously I'm effectively going to be trying to hold 2 boards up in here in one go. Also I put these screws in at an angle so it pulls the boards that way, which means now I can't get to the screw angle very easy with this. I have to take this board down, I think. I can't get to the angle otherwise to get them unscrewed. Could have just used normal wood doing this, I suppose, but I like to make things hard for myself. Right, so you saw how much that dropped down, so all that's hanging on there is that edge, which isn't ideal, but if I can get this to lock into that one, put those screws back in again, then effectively it will hold both of them up in the air in theory, assuming that I've done my measurements right and that it's going to fit. Right, let's go get this back in here again. Let's wire back through that hole, like that. Should, famous last words, should have just enough to slot in. He says, ain't gonna work. It's just not got enough to slot in. So loads of that. Okay. Right, well, any other way I can do it then is taking this other board back down again, slot them together and try and lift them up together. That's not going to be easy. And you can guarantee that this one's probably going to want some fettling as well, which means I've got to take it back out again, which is not going to be easy either. Oh, why don't it just go? Let's just try it once more. This just gives your shoulders a workout, I know that. Oh. I thought that went then. Thought it went. I can get it that far, but I can't get it to go in anymore. No, this one's falling out. And now I've got two of them that are loose. Oh, that hurt. Now I'm putting on the wiring. This is not a good situation to be in. Right, you stay there. There. Hopefully that doesn't pull my wiring too much. Right, I'm gonna hurt my head. I'm gonna rejig this, I think. I don't know how I'm gonna do it yet, but I can't even take a bit off the back of that tongue groove because then it won't have anything to slot into. I think I may have to cut this slightly narrower to allow it to have a little bit of leeway to slot in, if that makes sense. I just hope I haven't mucked up the tongue groove side on this one. Don't think I have. Right, it's resting on that wall over there, that's why it can't fall. Okay, I want to rejig this. I think I'm going to take a little bit off that edge of that board, and I'll come back to you when I've done that, and we'll have another go at it, I think. Right. I've taken a 5mm strip off the edge of this board, and I've put one screw back in that board so it doesn't hit me on the head, like this one did. Hope you had a chuckle at that. Luckily it didn't hurt too much, so that was alright. Right, let's try this again and see if I've got enough leeway now to slot this in. Again, I've got to get this wire through first of all. I'm hoping I haven't damaged the wire at all by when it pulled on it last time. I think we'll be alright. Right. Come on, be good to me. Be good to me. The annoying thing is, this is probably not going to be the last time it has to come in and out because I've got to try and adjust this end of it to make it flat. Right, we're in that end. It's this end that's the issue. I'm now getting the bits in my eyes as well from the board where I've just cut it. It's so close. I don't really want to take any more off of it because otherwise the wall underneath won't take up the gap, if that makes sense. It's literally right on the edge of going in. The dust has got to my throat. I'm just wondering if I take a little sliver actually off the tongue that's sticking out of this board, because then it will still slot in, but it won't. It literally wants about 2 mil. Oh God, it's so close. So close. Come on, just go that last little bit. There it goes. It's in. Right. I knew it was close. Let's get my pry bar. When it comes to bits like this, it's so fiddly. I feel like you've done nothing because it takes such a long while to do it. To get it to look half decent, you know? Whoop. Right. Stay there. Stay there, stay there. There it goes. Right, it's in. But that end's going to be an issue, as I said. For some reason, these boards are not sitting as tight as they do on the walls. But that's because they're not vertical, so the weight of them is not on them to push them down. For what? I don't know. Right, so I've now got to trim this end to fit to make sure that it follows that line. It's always, yes, it's only that back edge. Front edge is fine. So something's on the wonk somewhere, but so basically this is what I've been doing. I've been getting the boards up, screwing them up sort of with one screw, marking where they need to be, or what I need to take off, I should say, and then take them all back down again, trimming the end, and generally faffing about. So it looks like it's just about on the line, that end. It wants probably 5 mil thereabouts off of that end, and I have to cut it on a slight angle to make it right, to make it visually right, I should say, not to make it right, because it isn't right if you cut it on a wonk, but still. Right, so I'm going to take that back down again now, cut that end on the diagonal, and hopefully the next shot you'll see for me screwing that in place, and then that'll be that half of the roof done. God, this is hard work. Right, come back to you in a minute. Right, and as if by magic, it's up. And that was a lot of faffing about, but it's in there, as you can see. Bit of a gap against the wall, but as I say, the other board when it comes up will more than cover that, and there's only way you could get that in there and get a nice join down there. So that is this side of the roof complete. Now this is going to be the tricky part now, is getting these triangular pieces cut in on both sides. Now what I'm hoping is if I can do that one triangular piece in one up to that halfway point, so it'll be shorter than a full board, it might actually allow me out of the same board to get that strip I need for over there as well. And I've got a couple of offcuts that I can get the extra bit out of, because obviously that's slightly longer than a full board over there. Because I put these side walls in between the back and the front, it means I can still take these out. There's nothing wedging them in as such. So that's a good reason to do it that way around, because then you can obviously, like I said before, I'm going to need to take these ones out, put the little bit on the top onto the tongue groove, and then put them back in place again, because I can't see how I'm going to do it otherwise. But having said that, if that one's anything to go by, the grief I'd getting that one in with the tongue groove, I'm not sure quite how that's going to work. So that could be a bit of a faff, but we'll come to that when we come to it. I'm going to do the triangle bits on the sides first. That's going to be the next port of call. Let's crack on. Right, there we go. As you can see, I've got that in one piece. Now the gap along the top is questionable, shall we say. I'm not mega happy with that one. It's a bit wobbly, if I'm not going to lie, because it's such a long run to cut right the way down there. I'm only doing it with a handheld circular saw. It did go a bit skew with in places, and I had to take about 30mm off that end because I had too big a gap, so I've knocked it that way slightly to obviously wedge it in there, which has taken it off centre slightly, but what can you do? It is what it is, unfortunately. So that one is in. I've also done this side using offcuts of what I had left. This corner, unfortunately, is slightly damaged, which is why I didn't use this bit of boarding before. But being up there, and it's going to be behind the shelving there anyway, I'm not too worried about that. As you can see, I've done it in two pieces because I had another piece of boarding that was damaged on this edge, and I only needed to use the bottom section of it. So I've used that bit for that bit there, locked that bit into that bit there, and I've got a square edge on this bit here. So there's no interlock on this one, but that does match the edge of the door. So it kind of all matches in sort of how it should be as such. So all I've got to work out now is that strip along the top there, what I'm going to do with that, whether I'm going to take that tongue off that wood. I think that's what I'm going to do, because otherwise I've got to waste a whole sheet of wood just to get that little strip out of it. It's not worth it. I think for what it is, obviously all these sheets are going to be screwed up anyway. They're not going to go anywhere. It's going to be a little tiny strip at the top that I can then place in the gap. And I've actually got a piece there I can use for that. So that is what I'm thinking at the moment. So I may have to take these top two sheets back out again, which is fine. Just run a circular saw along the edge of them to get rid of that tongue off them. And then we can just slot a little piece of wood in the top there, wedge it against the roof, and it'll be absolutely marvellous. Let's crack on. Right, quick little update for you. As you can see, I've got the first sliver of wood put in there. I haven't put a bit in that bit yet because I haven't got a bit suitable at the moment. So I've moved my attention over to this side. I've got one piece of wood on the ceiling there at the moment, and I've got a piece of wood on the wall over there, as you can see. That's using that to sort of slot the end into, so I can line it all up and get it as straight as I can. In the meantime, I've actually bought a load more wood, bought another 10 sheets of wood, as you can see there, and I had a few of them that were damaged. They had like chunks out of them. You can see like those bits there. So I've cut those two that were on the top, which had chunks out of them, and I've cut the two boards there to fit that, just so I could get them off the pile, so I could use the good ones again to carry on with the roof up there. So it's sort of dotting around a bit at the moment, but I am kind of progressing. Yeah, so I want to carry on doing this. I'm probably going to try and get this half of the roof, I think, finished completely, and then we'll be back onto the walls, and then we're nearly there. So that is mega. Let's crack on. Right, there we go. There is our ceiling now complete. I did that last sheet off camera. That was a tricky one to get in because obviously I had to get it just the right length to fit in that gap and the right width as well, and sort of loosen this board off to get this one in to hook into it. Made a slight error on the cutting on this end of it. As you can see, there's a bit of a gap there. But that is what the good Lord invented filler for. So that's what I'm going with on that one. I'm not taking it back out again because it was a right pain to get in there. And I basically had to hold two boards up in the air at the same time to get that in. So that is in there now. Wires are through for the lights. That is absolutely mega top banana. Right, so next step now. I need to move all this junk over here. I'm going to stand those boards up so that they're up against the wall and I can get to them and still pick them up. Put all the stuff over this side, and then we can carry on around the bottom of this wall, get that all first layer in level. Make sure it lines up with these. These are bang on level, just sitting on the ground, so they are really good. They're not screwed in yet. I want to get that lower level in, make sure it all lines up as close as I can. Get that screwed in. We can carry on going up that wall from there, get this wall carried on from there, and then we're on to the final little fiddly bits. We've got to do this triangle up here. We'll have to do a triangle over there and the bit above the door, and that strip over this side, the same as what we'll have to do on this side, which I've got to finish off still. So apologies for that bright light there, but it's all I've got in here at the moment. So right, let's crack on. I'm going to get this all moved over and then we'll get some boards going on this wall. Right, I've cleared a space as you can see and got our board in there. This one is slightly damaged on the top and the bottom. The top doesn't matter because the new one, the next one, slots over the top of it and most of it's hidden. The bottom doesn't matter because it's on the bottom and it's going to be underneath a workbench on this side, so that should be absolutely fine. Now we've got our electrics to deal with on this corner, and I'm actually going to leave a bigger gap around it. I'm just going to cut the same as I've cut the insulation, so if I ever need to get to that for whatever reason I can. And I'm going to put a panel in there over the, or just a small piece over the top of it that's totally on its own. Same with under here. Again, a separate panel that's not tongue grooved in, so I can take them off if I need to, and I can get access to the top and the bottom of that panel should I need to. So basically all I'm going to do is cut a notch out of this corner straight down to the ground. That will then slide over. We've got to level it with this join on this side, which is quite high compared to what I've got is sitting on the ground at the moment. I'm going to have to lift those two panels up because leveling this then puts this end higher up on this wall to make the joins line up. So I can just lift it up slightly. It should be okay. So yeah, I'm going to get that corner cut out, get that slotted in there. We can screw that on, get it level, get it screwed on the wall, put the bit in piece in, which I've got some offcuts for here, and then gradually work our way up, and it should be absolutely marvellous. So let's crack on and get this cut. Right then, that is as far as I can go in this video. I understand this is quite a long video, this one. It's probably quite monotonous to watch, but it's one of the jobs that needed doing. As you can see, I put the final square in there. So all we're left with now is this strip along the top here, the 2 triangles, a bit above the door, and a little tiny bit on the strip in that corner over there. That is all that's left. I'm probably going to do that off camera, just because I'm pretty sure you're probably fed up with watching me cutting and putting up wood by now. This is, as I say, quite a long video, and I have done my very best to try and get it done as quick as possible. As I said earlier in the video, for whatever reason, it's taken me forever to do. So, can't explain why, but there we go. It's one of those things. Once this is boarded, it's going to be a case of going around with a caulking gun, caulking all the joins, giving it a coat of white paint, probably 2 coats of white paint. Then we need to get the floor tiles down. Once the floor tiles are down, then we can get the shelving made. Either pre-bought stuff or stuff that I'm going to actually make into the workshop itself and fit it to the walls. One of the two, I haven't decided yet. Depends what comes up cheap on Facebook Marketplace. If anything comes up cheap, I'd like a proper, if I do buy stuff, I want the proper pallet racking that's going to fit in the gap. It's about 2.4 metres across there, so if I can find a 2.4 metre pallet rack that's a little bit deeper than what a normal racking would be, and obviously nice and strong, then that would be absolutely superb. If I can't find one of those, then I'm going to make it myself and make it out of wood. Probably take a bit longer to do, and similar cost, I would imagine. So one or the other, it will get done, and then once that's done, hopefully then we can finally get back on the cars, because I have not done anything on cars properly now since we finished working on the Alpha last time, pretty much. I've done a few bits on the Puma and stuff like that, and the cab, which will be a future video, as I said earlier. But yeah, I'm lacking on the car side of things as far as proper projects, if that makes sense, rather than just daily stuff or stuff that needs repairing. I need to get back on the Alpha and finish that, so that's on the road and I can try that out then, and then I can make a decision what I'm keeping and what I'm not. And then we can start on the Lotus again maybe and start getting that sorted out and getting the engine back in that. I know it's a then and then and then and then, and I keep going on and on and on. And I really do appreciate you all for sticking with me. I know it's a bit of a long process as far as it's just me. I'm trying to hold down a full-time job, take the kids to school every day and pick them up, you know, do stuff with them, do stuff with Mrs. MEC-TEC if I can. Unfortunately, Mrs. MEC-TEC usually comes last in all that, and I am very appreciative to her as well. If she does ever watch this, you know, she knows she means the world to me, and, you know, all that sort of thing. So she is very, very understanding on stuff like this. So there we go. Right, if you do like what you see, make sure you do 4 things for me. Like, subscribe, share, and hit the notification bell. In fact, there's a 5th thing, the hype button. I haven't even seen the hype button yet. I've looked for it on other videos and I can't see it, but people have told me on my videos at least, there is a hype button to push. So if you could push that as well and up my videos into the sort of stratosphere and make them go a bit more sort of suggested to people, that would be absolutely superb. So 5 things now you've got to do. And all that's left for me to say is thank you very much for watching, and if you want to join me soon for more automotive adventures, hopefully soon, or carpentry capers like this, then make sure you tune in again next time. Cheers, guys.